Greetings summoners, and welcome back to another ProGuides Wild Rift video. My name is Terry, and today I'll be talking about why so many of the community members were disappointed by patch 2.5. From a bit of a lackluster 2.5 preview, the amount of time it took for patch 2.5 to drop, and a little bit of a sorry state that patch 2.5 released in, there are a lot of different reasons why Wild Rift developers definitely warrant some of the criticism that the community has been giving them. But before we begin, I do want to take some time to introduce myself. I'm Terry, I've been here for a while, and I just want to say hi. Let's get into our question of the day. What are your guys' overall thoughts about patch 2.5? This video will go over my own personal thoughts, so I won't be addressing this off the bat. Leave your answers down in the comments below. To provide some context, let's discuss what the state of the game was like before patch 2.5. The most recent patch update before 2.5 was 2.4D, which was admittedly pretty tiny. This was definitely more of a band-aid on a big wound kind of patch, literally only updating 6 champions. I'm going to say this up front, in regards to gameplay balance, the game was and still is in a pretty good state, albeit with a slower paced patch updates than most would like. In Riot's 2.4D patch notes, they stated that we're laying low in this final patch update before the release of 2.5 in October. In essence, they were building up for some big changes in patch 2.5. 2.4 started off very strong, but definitely trailed off throughout the couple of patches. Viewership and interest for the game dwindled, content creators us included struggled to innovate due to such minor patch updates. Many members of the community grew rather antsy waiting for the next big update. With so much hype and time given to prepare for patch 2.5, people speculated and hoped for the game's improvements in the upcoming update. At this point, the community was very vocal and uniform about their complaints with Wild Rift. Fix the servers and switch up the matchmaking algorithm. These have been problems plaguing the game literally since release, and definitely ruined the quality of life for Wild Rift as a whole. Of course, the same typical questions still rang among the community. Questions such as, when is the console release coming? When will the India servers be up? What new champions will be announced? Whatever the case, expectations were set rather high going into patch 2.5. The developers' talk on Wild Rift 2.5 preview was met with some controversy. The matchmaking issue was being addressed slightly, but a massive portion of the video and their dev talk surrounded the release of guilds, a feature that nobody really asked for or expected. This took the community off guard, and many lashed out towards the development team, criticizing them for not fixing the server issues or even addressing many of the community's general concerns. This is a prime example of sharing good content, but at the wrong time. The existence of guilds is not bad in itself. In fact, it helps the social aspect of the game, which has definitely been lacking. They even added in a Twitch streaming function. The issue is that after hyping up 2.5 for so long, and even delaying the update to prepare more thoroughly for the release, Riot spent such a big chunk of their allotted time in their video talking about guilds. This resulted in poor communication with the player base. These dev talks are one of the biggest sources of information, outside of patch updates, for the developers to properly communicate with the Wild Rift community. And since a big chunk of the community was looking for updates on fixing connectivity issues, adjustments to the punishment and report system, and simply overall bigger gameplay related revamps, many of the community members were disappointed. What Riot should have done was to create a separate video highlighting guilds rather than leaving such a big section in the developmental talk. As a marketing tactic, this was just a terrible move. They need to be mindful of the content that the players want to hear and follow up with information thereafter. What they did instead was attempt to push their own agenda, which many of the players deemed as straight up disrespect to their vocalized concerns. Of course, that doesn't mean that Wild Rift developers are not working on the issues. In fact, I'm very certain that they are, but the issues that the community constantly bring up definitely take more time and analysis than those voicing the concerns realize. This doesn't excuse the fact that Riot is taking so long to address them, but mobile community members are also infamous for their prone to complain and pinpoint negative aspects of a game. Wild Rift is no different. Oh, and don't forget to join our ProGuides Wild Rift Discord, link in the description below. To make matters worse, when patch 2.5 dropped, many players complained about the game becoming literally unplayable. People couldn't log in, ping spikes became absurdly high, and disconnects became a regular occurrence. The state of the game upon the release of 2.5 was really bad, leaving a sour taste in players' mouths. This was, once again, really unfortunate timing. With the 2.5 preview having been so controversial, to have literal game-breaking issues occur immediately upon release destroyed many players' hopes for the game. Of course, these were resolved for the most part as soon as Riot could get to it. The issue is, The time difference between USA, California, LA, where Riot headquarters is located, and the areas of the world where Wild Rift is popular are drastically different, resulting in a period of time where players could literally not play the game. Without a doubt, Riot messed up on this. Their team failed to deliver a strong initial patch update and disappointed the community. This sucks for them because the thing is, 2.5 brought in some really cool changes that weren't even in the patch overview or the patch 2.5 preview. They revamped the ping system so players can respond to pings in game now. This drastically improves communication in game, allowing players to cooperate more. Of course, this will definitely still be used to be toxic in some way or another, causing players to fight, but the base edition itself is actually really cool. In addition, players now have the option to look through the builds for the top 3 players for each champion in their region. This is huge, since this increases the knowledge available throughout the game, granting the community a new form of acquiring knowledge that is necessary to succeed in Wild Rift. No more searching the content up, asking random people online, and blindly trusting random sources. The top 3 players for each champion are sure to have a pretty reliable build for the most part. Of course, if you still want to ask random people online or search builds up, 100% go for it, but I'm just saying players now have a resource built into the game to rely on. Albeit many members of the community were disappointed since only 3 champions were being added, this is actually pretty typical for Wild Rift's pacing at this point. 1 solo champion releases and 2 release simultaneously. That's a pattern that's been occurring for a while, and yeah, sometimes they release more champions more often, but we as a community really shouldn't expect Wild Rift to evolve as fast as we want it to. When they released Senna, Lucian, Akshan, and Thresh in pretty close proximity to each other, I'm sure the entire Wild Rift developmental team was busting their behinds to ensure the proper implementation of these champions. It's so easy for us, the community, to continue demanding and insulting Riot, but we fail to remember that although Riot is a corporation, they are made up of people. We so often demonize the developmental team, criticizing them for every tiny flaw that they make. MOBA communities, Wild Rift included, are incredibly toxic, and although it has become a norm, that doesn't mean we can't help mitigate the negativity. For instance, 2.5 actually brought some amazing gameplay updates, rounding out tons of champions and effectively changing the pacing of the game. Riot added 2 Rift Heralds and a later Baron buff timer. This is huge for the game and definitely pushes the game's meta forward, placing more emphasis on the Baron side during the early game, while delaying the overwhelming Baron snowball. But most players decided to focus on the Aurelion Soul nerf instead. I mean, I disagree with the nerfs as well, but there's a lot to focus on excluding the Aurelion Soul nerfs. They nerfed him based off of statistics, but the statistics, in my opinion in this case, are highly likely skewed. But that goes with any statistics, there will always be some outliers given time, resulting in error in data analysis. I know Riot will still stand by their balancing, but hey, they have their own way of balancing the game, and that's all I really say on the matter. In conclusion, 2.5 started off rather rocky. The developers didn't do a great job with communicating with the community, deciding to emphasize the wrong points at the wrong time. A lot of the community's concerns were unaddressed, and patch 2.5 dropped with massive server issues. It'll take some time, but I'm sure patch 2.5 will continue to evolve the game. I've said this before in a previous video, a Riot's game plan isn't to blow up Wild Rift overnight. Slowly but surely, Riot will address the community's biggest concerns and raise the game into the behemoth we know it can be. They definitely messed up a lot recently, but let's continue to practice patience and believe in the team that has been so faithfully bringing us Wild Rift. They're just people trying to do their best jobs and are prone to mess up as well. And that concludes today's video. If you enjoyed the content, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for everything Wild Rift. And before you go, don't forget to address the question of the day in the comments down below. And until next time, stay safe and have fun in your games.